In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the Maya interface. Now, as we can see, when we load it up, we have a large three-dimensional space here where we can do some of our work, and we've got a lot of menus and buttons surrounding the exterior of this workspace. We'll start off by focusing on the top, and then we'll just work our way all the way down and around. So the first thing we see on the top is a menu bar, and the menu bar has access to all of the basic things, the tools and the functions that are available in the Maya application. Below that, we have a menu set, and the menu set basically changes out the menu items that we're going to see. Right now we're in a polygon mode, and it shows us the tools that we could use for polygons. If we change this, for instance, to rendering, it's going to change some of the menu items above to focus more on the rendering aspect of development. Animation is going to change it to more of the animation menus, and we'll end back on our polygon. Now across here we have quick access to our saving, our loading, and our new scenes. We've got some snapping options and some rendering options as well. Below that we have our shelf, and this is available to us to set up more of customized tools within each one of these little tabs. We're defaulted on the polygons. We can click on each one and see that each one has a number of different options inside of it, from the general settings with cameras to our curves and splines to surfaces and polys. You can see that there's additional options all the way across. Be sure to click on them and take a peek just to see what's inside of them. And if we continue on over, we'll see our channel box. The channel box basically lets us edit the key values for the objects that we have selected inside the scene. Right now there's no options available, just so that we can see it. I'm going to create a sphere in the scene, and I'll click it and drag it out, and this sphere is selected. And inside of our channel box we can see that we have options. These options are things that are available to us to edit. We can edit its position, we can edit the rotation scale and visibility inside of our channel box, as well as additional properties that are available to each object. As we continue on and we move down, we see we have three tabs. These three tabs are within our layers group. The first one is our display, our render, and our animation. The display is used just to manage our scene, the things that are inside the scene. We can show and hide them and manage them inside of that space. The render layers, this next one right over here, this one's going to be used to set up the render passes for compositing. And then of course our animation tab here at the end is used to just blend different animations and levels together. These two we most likely won't get into until later. The main one that we will look at is going to be our display as we progress forward. If we move on over to the left hand side, we will see our toolbox, and our toolbox has our tools for selecting, our tools for moving, for rotating, and for scaling the objects inside of our scene. And below that we see a little sphere. The sphere was created when we created our sphere here. It allows you to quickly get to a function that you used before, a previous function. Below that we have our layout buttons. These layout buttons allow us to change the viewport right in here, the workspace that we're in. If we were to select on the split 1, 2, 3, 4 panels here, we can click on this one, and it's going to change our viewport to multiple views while we're working. We can click on the top one to go back to our single, and we can continue on down, and as we go on down we see our time slider. Our time slider here, this is for use for animation. Below that we have our range slider. Our range slider here is how we actually set the number of keys that we want to work with in our time slider. We can select on the box here to add and take away frames. We can also scrub through by left clicking and dragging on our range slider. To the bottom and to the right we have a mail scripting text box where we can actually add in any kind of scripting. Maya uses a mail script to do or add additional tools or functions or processes to improve the tool set. And then to the right of that, we have our command line here. And let's see what else we've got here. The last thing we have is right in here. This is for our animation playback. We have our animation playback tools in here. We have our keyframing tools in here, and our properties for keyframing right there at the end. Okay, that's going to cover the basic layout of all of the tools around. The only thing that we have left here in the middle is our workspace. This is where we're going to construct and create the 3D environments that we work within. How we view this and work in this space is controlled by our panel right here. This is our panel toolbar, and we can see that we have options for how we view it, our shading, our lighting, what we see inside of it, how it's being rendered, and the panels, basically how it's going to be viewed, whether it's a perspective or whether it's a left, right, top type of view, and we'll look into that a little bit further. And we also have our shortcut icons to get to it a little bit quicker than through the menu. Alright, and then lastly, we also have a tear off option on these menus just so that we can see it. If we do have menus that we're going to be using, we can actually hover over and left click and drag, or left click on it, and then we can drag our menus out and keep these menus up while we're working on it. So a great way to improve and speed up the process and your workflow. Alright, so that is the basics of our UI. The next thing that we're going to look at, look at creating some of the primitives inside of the scene using the primitive objects and get a basic feel for how that is done. Alright, we'll do that next.